like the channel. One thing that we can do as well later on down the track is you can actually call up. I'd love to hear what you think about that. Otherwise, feel free to comment in the channel. I'd love to hear what you think about it. But we continue. Now let's talk about the madness. Tottenham Hotspur, what is going on? This is not a bad run anymore. It is a collapse. No wins, no confidence, and no identity. And now you're at the table. Thinking, wait, are they actually in trouble? Because when you're down with teams like Burnley FC and Wolverhampton Wanderers, you're not too big to go down. No one is. Poor choice of words. A-League reaction. Let's bring it home. Hello, McLovin. Who is McLovin? Why do I feel like I know who McLovin is? Anyway, A-League, and I love this season because the Wanderers are in a lot of trouble. Let me know if you follow the A-League in Australia, but it really does seem like the Wanderers are in okay. And I love the season because it's chaos. Newcastle Jets top of the table. Who saw that coming? Auckland FC right there behind them. Sydney FC building momentum at the perfect time. This is where you want heading into the finals. Uncertainty, because anyone can win it. We also want to keep an eye on Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City FC. Those teams know how to handle pressure. They've been there before. So let me know what you think. Who do you think is going to win the Premier League? Who do you think is going to win the A-League, pardon me? Or what do you even think about Western Sydney Wanderers? Because I think I'm going to be controversial here. I think Western Sydney Wanderers are the best team, or the best fan base in the whole of Australia. So what do you do about where they are right now? They shouldn't be at the bottom of the league. I'd love to know what you think moving forward. We're also going to do a little bit of reading the news as well, and you can tell me what you think about that. So now a quick word from our sponsors. Something's changing in football. The same clubs, the same takes, the same recycled options. But the game's moved on. Arsenal under pressure, City hunting again, United on the edge, and in Australia, the A-League wide open. No scripts, no guarantees. This isn't highlight reels and safe opinions. This is real analysis, real football, real talk. Live shows, daily content, no filter. If you actually care about the game, you're already too late. That's directly from 56 Media, so enjoy that one as well. And now another word from another sponsor. Most beers taste the same. Psst. Same receipt, same recipe, same labels, same safe choices. But this is different. Citrus hits first, then the bitterness, then that smooth, clean finish that actually makes you stop and notice. Small patch, locally brewed, built for people who know the difference. This isn't for everyone, but if you get it, you get it. Drink better. 56 beer. If there was a 56 beer, hit the like. Western United. What's going on with Western United right now, Kai? Are they doing bad? Are they doing good? How's that been going? Here's something I've been thinking about, why does the Premier League feel so big? And leagues like the A-League feel like they're still building? I wanted to start right there because I think a big reason that the A-League isn't where it should be is that it's not a pyramid, it's an obelisk. And you have this franchises that they could do amazingly or they could do terrible. And if they do terrible, there's no penalty for them. However, with the NPL and with those teams, there should be a pyramid where if you have Marconi or a team from Adelaide or a team from Melbourne and they do really well, they move up the league. Now, the statement to that is that, people can't afford it, but that's how an ecosystem grows. I actually don't believe that at all. If you have a team like Marconi and they're doing well in a New South Wales style competition, they don't have to fly to Perth. They don't have to fly to Queensland. They can stay in New South Wales and play. They will attract sponsorship and revenue. But it's just a mentality in this country that the government has to step in and just fund it, and the establishment media has to come in and just fund it instead of the people growing with it as well. And if Marconi or a team in South Australia does well, like Adelaide United, people will support it. It'll bring money, and you'll you'll create an ecosystem around that. The market, the hidden hand of the market will benefit from that. The people will benefit from the hidden hand of the market, pardon me. So let me know what you think. Is the A League really as effective as it could be? Could it be worse? Could it be better? I do believe that at this moment in time, the A League won't be around in 10 years' time. They just don't have the funding for it, which is a tremendous shame because there's a lot of potential. But instead, you've got this sort of obelisk, this Frankenstein system, which isn't as effective as it could be, where you could have a pyramid and naturally there is a filter up. I think that's what MacArthur FC is trying to do. But you need to be able to reward teams as well that are grassroots because you just will naturally bring things up in the top. And that's what happened with Italy. That's why Italy didn't qualify for the World Cup as well, because they've created this system where it has to be certain players playing in certain teams, and it has to be that guy. Instead, if you're like a really good player, but you're playing all the way in Como or in Parma, you're not going to get a chance to be in the Premier League. Or sorry, pardon me, the Serie A, and actually the Scudetto, as they say. Why did Italy not? I saw a great post on the Athletic recently about why that does happen. This is from 442. They're an amazing website that does a lot about this sort of stuff. The World Cup 2026 scenario that could restore Italy's qualification hopes. Italy failed to qualify for a third consecutive World Cup, but FIFA's answer to a big problem could open the door to a reprieve. Italy plays off loss against Bosnia, and Herzegovina condemned the Azzurri to a third consecutive failure to qualify for the World Cup. And I think everyone would agree the Italians should be in the World Cup. I mean, maybe you disagree if you think the Italians shouldn't be in the World Cup. Let me know in the comments. But surely, I mean, just absolutely surely, the Italians should be in the World Cup. Italy came up against 16-goal Erling Haaland in Norway in their qualifying group and won all of their other games, just about. But a playoff win over Northern Ireland was followed by a final defeat on penalty and an end to Gennaro Gattuso's time in charge. So yeah, this is the reason I'm mentioning Italy right now is that you can run an incredibly successful football empire that is Italy into the ground if it's not correctly done. And it's not being correctly done, the A League. You've got tons of fantastic players who are financially hindered because of how expensive it is to move up. And that's because of the ecosystem. Whilst with rugby, if there's a lot more opportunity for sponsorship, there's more connections, all sorts of little things that give them a huge advantage. And Australia's missing out, not just from a financial point, sorry, pardon me, not just from a what the fuck? Not just from a growing point of view and a player point of view, but also from a financial point of view. Because if you have a good footballing ecosystem, that creates more money. You get more eyes on it. You get more brand sponsorship, and AFL and NRL should be competing with football, but you have a monopoly where NRL, pardon me, um, has a huge monopoly on this. When obviously there are more young children interested in football, so it's just about that engagement when it really comes down to it. The current state of the A League and Western City Wanderers is a perfect example of that. Western City Wanderers should always be at the top of the A League. What do you think? Should the Wanderers always be at the top? They've probably got the most passionate fan base in the whole of the A League, maybe secondary to Adelaide United. Maybe, but in terms of consistent fan culture, it's got to be Wanderers. So then, why, if that's the case, are they sitting bottom of the league? That people are voting with their wallets and they're investing in the Wanderers, and yet here's where we're currently standing. Let me know what you think in the comments. Otherwise, what we can do as well is I can actually take your phone call directly if you'd like to speak directly about your thoughts on the A League or just anything in general. 0433 551 371. You can call me directly. I'd love to hear what you think about the A League or anything, really, anything whatsoever. This might blow up my face, and if it does, that's not a good thing. where are we? Where are we right now? Okay, so here's something I've been thinking about. Why does the Premier League feel so big? Oh, we've already said that. All right, quick one tonight. Let me know in the chat who wins the Premier League, Arsenal or City? And in the A League, who's your pick for the title? I'll be back tomorrow. You can tell me who you think is going to win the A League. Um, I really do wonder what's happening with the Wanderers and also Spurs as well, even Manchester United or Arsenal. Man City are in a transitory year. They don't have the midfield. They don't have any of the players that they really want, which is these sort of Declan Rice style players who can control the tempo and can control the field and then open up the game for opportunities for fullbacks or wingers to then give opportunity to Haaland. So we're not really seeing Man City have a typical Man City team where you've got Fernandinho as a DM followed by Kevin De Bruyne or David Silva or Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, and they create these opportunities and control the midfield. Instead, Cherky or Reinders, these are phenomenal players, but they're not string pullers. They don't assist Rodri. They can actually make his job harder. So even Man City's even in trouble, which is insane. It's a weird and funny year, and yet Arsenal should be absolutely dominating this year in terms of football. They're not. They could actually bottle it. They've already bottled two previous fixtures, and now they've lost to Bournemouth. Let me know what you think. I'd love to know what you think about either the A League, Premier League, or anything. If you're League and you want to know about Marseille, I'd love to know what you think. It really is just absolutely blowing my mind. Let's play to Arsenal right now. Let's see what people are saying about Arsenal. So if we go to ESPN, Wayne Rooney, there's going to be a big match between Man City and Arsenal soon, which will decide the title most definitely. Wayne Rooney believes Manchester City have a psychological edge over Arsenal as the race for the Premier League title heats up. Arsenal dropped points on Saturday, losing 2-1 at home to Bournemouth before City took advantage, closing the gap with a 3-0 win over Chelsea on Sunday. Pep Guardiola's side is points behind Arsenal with a game in hand. I'm never really worried about Chelsea as a football club. You see a lot of frustration online, and I think they still think about the Abramovich era and the success that accompanied them. But there are going to be growing pains. They're investing in the squad, they're building on the squad, and they are really learning on the job. So I think Chelsea within the next 5 years are most definitely going to be. Most definitely going to be up there and winning it. It's just a matter of time. They have really good players. I think they do need a number 9 and perhaps a little bit more experience. I do agree with colleagues who say that the 24 and under policy is good, but it's good to have experience as well to control the team. But let me know what you think. I think City will have an edge on that. Just purely the manager and players they've got, I think they'll be able to stay a little bit calmer than Arsenal players, Rooney said on the BBC. Here we go. What do you think is more important for the A-League, a full pyramid or a bigger than a current one, or more games for players to develop more and sell on? I would definitely say a full pyramid where teams can really engage. Now that doesn't mean that it's compulsory. So let's say you've got the original A-League clubs, Sydney FC, Wanderers, Brisbane Roar, Melbourne Victory, Melbourne City. You've got those established franchises, and then you could have an additional 8 who can apply for that role. Now, obviously, they would need funding for that, and they can apply for it. And clubs can get funding if they're situated in a position where they have the squad where they think they can compete, then they can have a go in that. I don't think it's as big a deal as other people are saying, where these clubs are automatically going to flatline, but they've already been established anyway, and they're naturally business. They will know how to survive a tough season financially. So, great question, Joe Blago. And yeah, I do believe a full pyramid where you get more players involved, you can develop more. There's a tremendous potential in youth. That's one thing I really wanted to say about the Australian football culture. There is a tremendous not only a tremendous potential in the youth, but a tremendous learning curve as well for them to move into. I think it's a multi-billion-dollar opportunity for someone like a finance monster in the US, or a petroleum company in the Middle East to come in and invest in it and say to 30 million Australians, hey, you love football, we'll create a system and an ecosystem that you can benefit from, and then you can move overseas, you get experience, you get something that is actually super common overseas in Europe and America, where if you're good at golf, you can get a uni degree, and study, a bachelor's in teaching, and will pay you to do golf. Now, if they join the ecosystem and they end up doing really well and they become a professional golfer, great. But even if they don't, you have an experience where they're connecting outside of Australia, they're moving outside, they're meeting people in Europe and experiencing different politics, different systems, different beliefs. They're moving to America, which, I don't want to get too political, is dangerous for the ruling establishment of Australia if we have a ton of other people looking and saying, oh, wow, Texas actually has an amazing it has amazing petroleum that they use, and they have a labor culture that uses all their resources. Or, oh wow, if you go to Germany, they have this system where their infrastructure is spread out across a very wide period. Oh wow, you've got Turkey, and they've got this amazing culture and all this different stuff. And oh wow, turns out, there's things that Australia, once again, like, I have to say something heretical. Australia is the best, and we're very lucky to live in Australia, but there are things Australia can do better. Controversial take, I know, we're the lucky country, but I'd be lying if I didn't say Australia can be better. We could have cheaper houses. Once again, controversial statement. I know that there's people in this world, in this country, that think you can't say a single bad thing about this country, and I love Australia. I'm an Australian. I do think there's stuff that Australia could do better. Case in point, fuel refineries. I don't know if anybody's been hit with the slog with the petrol prices right now. That could have, to a smaller extent, have been avoided. Don't want to get too political. We could start with an A1 and A2 system with 10 teams each, 12 current AL plus 8 championship clubs, and they play each other 4 times, 36 games. So it helps and grows the pyramid and increases the amount of games. Completely agree. Completely agree, Joe Blaga. I mean, it's not even a controversial thing that you're saying. I absolutely agree with that. Even just having a bit of a hand up, where if you're in New South Wales, or no, I keep picking on New South Wales, even if you're in Victoria and you've got 5 successful teams, they get the opportunity to play in Victoria. We're just in Victoria, so they're not paying for travel all over the place. They're just doing it there. And then of those 5 teams, the one that comes first gets to move up into into the A League final. So they are part of the A League, but they're not. They're not being as burdened with travel and those sort of costs. That's just my 2 cents. I think your system is genius in its simplicity, and that's exactly what I think should happen as well. And people would put money into it. That's another controversial take. If you have someone in the Mornington Peninsula and their sons or daughters, pardon me, play at a local grassroots level for football, and then from there they can see an opportunity. They're touching base with the coaches. There's that level of community. They're going to invest there. They're going to vote with their wallets. They're going to pay for that, and that's going to bring more people together in a community. And that's why when you look at clubs like in France with their football teams, it's not just a football club. It's a business entity that benefits. And if they do well in competitions, then there's financial opportunity. They get to invest in the local schools. They get to invest in the local this. They do cafes. They do infrastructure, and everybody benefits. There's a monetary benefit to this sort of stuff, and it helps from a mental position as well. There's just so many benefits. And when you look at the way it's currently run, it's a shadow. It's an absolute shadow of what it really could be. I've really gone off on a tangent, but Joe Blago, I think this is genius stuff that you're saying. Absolutely. I absolutely completely agree with you. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but nonetheless, they will be worried because when you go on a run, and going back to Wayne Rooney, or what Wayne Rooney has said about the Man City versus Arsenal game, they will be worried because when you go on a run and lose a few games, you start thinking, where's the next goal? the next win going to come from? That negative mindset really has an impact on your performance. Arsenal, Man City, final Premier League fixtures. City host Arsenal this Sunday in what is shaping up as a huge clash. Rooney said Arsenal might be happy with a point and may be forced to play dirty. And we know that Arsenal play pragmatic football right now. They do. And I'm fine with pragmatic football. I've said it once, I've said it an absolute million times. I still remember, and hit the like or comment in the video if you remember this, 10 years ago with Mourinho, with Man United, when they would play they would smash teams 4-0, but it would be pragmatic football. And it was Pogba and it was Lukaku, and Pogba would ping it to Lukaku, who would run into the space, didn't have a good first touch, but would finish it. And they'd be smashing teams 4-0 for the first 18 games. And then what happened? The media crucified Mourinho. They called him, Roy Keane hated him. Um, but Arsenal, Arteta just gets a pass. He just gets a pass with the pragmatic football. Shouldn't someone say, like, hey, why are you playing this pragmatic football? Why aren't you using the fullbacks? Why aren't you using the wingers? Why aren't you using Odegaard? Why aren't you using Declan Rice? Even Gyökeres, he's a player who is good in tight spaces, but you can offer opportunities in the box. When he was at, I think, and forgive me if I'm wrong here, but Sporting Lisbon, when he was at Sporting Lisbon, he did well with those sort of crosses in the box and attacking the space. Arteta's not using him that way. And I don't think Arteta should be fired. There could be a bunch of reasons if he doesn't win, but it would be bottled if he loses this Premier League. He shouldn't lose it with the squad that he has. He has the best squad in the Premier League right now, by far. Who has a better squad than Arsenal right now? So it's a big match. It's a big match. It's a very, very, very big match when Arsenal will play against Manchester City, and I'd absolutely love to know what you think. Also, you can call directly if you like. I've got my phone on you. I'd love to hear what you think. We don't have to talk about football. We can talk about politics. But 0433 551 371. I'm right here. I won't do the lies because it gets all complicated. You get all sorts of strange ones. And this might blow up in my face, actually. This might blow up in my face. But yeah, if you do want to speak, I'm happy to have a conversation. Tottenham relegation. This is really where we're going. So I'm going to say something a bit controversial again, which is that Tottenham Hotspur on Sportsbet. Don't gamble. You're probably going to lose if you gamble, but Sportsbet have not backed up they haven't updated their Tottenham selection. So if you bet on Tottenham to lose, you're getting 1 to 3 odds right now. So and it's just a money making machine. It blows my absolute mind. So yeah, if you're ever looking to make a quick buck, do what I did. I bet on Tottenham, and it's easy money right now. It's unbelievable. Once again, don't gamble. You're probably going to lose. Tottenham relegation, a disaster. Rooney also said Tottenham players will be thinking about their futures given the club's relegation battle. Spurs are 18th in the table, 2 points from safety behind West Ham United, and suffered their 16th defeat of the season to Sunderland on Sunday. Ollie, it will be a disaster for them if they go down, which is going to go down. Let me know in the comments if you think Tottenham Hotspur are going to survive relegation or will be in the Premier League next season. Imagine saying that at the start of the season. Imagine saying at the start of the season, Tottenham are going to be in a relegation battle. They think, no, you're being negative. If they don't get back in the Premier League in the first year, that will be an absolute nightmare for them. And I want to talk to you about that. So Tottenham, this is the thing people don't realize about the Championship, is that it's a very physical league. There's some schools of thought that the Championship is harder than the Premier League. Maybe not in terms of quality, but definitely in terms of player physicality, in terms of desire, in terms of the atmosphere and the stadium. Tottenham don't have a team that is going to be physical enough. Tottenham will stay in the Prem. Okay, yeah, I think, look, the bookies still believe they're going to stay in the Prem. I do fear that West Ham are in a more comfortable position in a relegation battle than Tottenham. I think they're more comfortable in this sort of position where you have to absolutely grind out every single game, and you have to have good mental strength. Tottenham have a very organized manager. They have a team that is able to be comfortable in a relegation battle. Whilst Tottenham Hotspur, Van de Ven, for example, he's already like furious. He's already upset with the whole system, and he wants to leave. Some reports are saying, but if Tottenham might stay in the Prem. However, if they were to go down in the Championship, I think they would struggle to come back up. Could they do it? Absolutely. I mean, the team value is light years more than the other teams there, but it's still a hard thing to do, an absolutely difficult thing to do. We're getting a ton of response here, so I just want to say how grateful I am to everyone who's tuned into the live, whether it be on TikTok or whether it be on YouTube. This is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm very, 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 very grateful. So thanks. And we can talk about anything. We're talking about football, but I actually wanted to get on to the current state of world affairs as well, which is going to be a bit crazy, let me tell you. So where were we? I was Man City and the relegation. Brazil coach Carlo Ancelotti believes Neymar still has time to get back to being 100% and play at the FIFA World Cup. Neymar, who's 34, is hoping to play in his fourth World Cup this summer, but injuries have prevented him from playing for Brazil since October of 2023. He is capable of getting back to 100%, Ancelotti told Equip. But L'Equipe, when asked about Neymar, he is being assessed by the CBF, the Brazilian Football Confederation, and by me, and he still has 2 months to show that he has what it takes to play in the next World Cup. Uh, Hold on a second here, gang. The former Paris Saint-Germain star, who is also Brazil's all-time scorer with 79 goals, has been excluded from all of Ancelotti's squad since the Italians took over in June. I mean, the World Cup is right ahead of us. It's literally 2 months away. In America, in Mexico, in Canada. So it'll be a really fun thing. I'm going to be tuning in and watching it live and doing a watch along. I'd love it if you could join us as well. Let me know, who you'll be supporting. If you'll be supporting like me, Australia, or maybe not. Maybe you'd probably support whoever, another country. Let me know in the comments. Um, but ultimately, it's so close, and I think it'll be an amazing World Cup. It'll be very good for a lot of people. Thank you for the love, Kai. Thank you for the love, Riley. And let us know. Let us know on what you think. Actually, just on that note of America and the World Cup, I wanted to get a little bit political here and where we're at, because Kai, Oz, and Germany. I think Germany are. This is a weird thing to even say. I think they're dark horses. Phenomenal, phenomenal national team. And this isn't the first time that Germany sort of floated under the radar and then come out like a monster and just thrashed everyone. So they might just be playing it close to the chest. I mean, they've got Kimmich, who's a world class player. Manuel Neuer at 40 is still phenomenal. I don't think Hummels is still playing. Surely at this time he can't be. He'd be in his late 30s. Mats Hummels, but he was a favorite of mine. He's 37. No, he's definitely not playing anymore. But I wouldn't be surprised if Germany, just based on how Bayern have done and just the way their footballing federation operates, if they have a tremendous time at the World Cup. I remember Leroy Sané as well. I just don't think that he must be playing. Do you know if Leroy Sané is in this German national team? Is in the Mannschaft, Kai? Let me know, because I would absolutely hope that Germany does well. Tremendous footballing nation. But yeah, moving back. So I don't know if where you guys are right now, but definitely you've probably been hit by the petrol prices. What we're seeing right now is that we're at $2.20 after they've got rid of the fuel excise. The media is telling you that, it's only 2 weeks from now and this war is going to be over. And don't be mistaken, we are in a world war. It is not going to get better anytime soon. This war will probably last at least 6 months because of the fact that Iran, its Ayatollah, has been killed and replaced by a far more um, militarily astute commander who is and I have no horse in this race, but he is winning this war. Controls the Strait of Hormuz. Is controlling the attrition. Is winning this war of attrition through the lack of interceptor missiles that America and Israel no longer have. they are winning this war, and I say that objectively. So until there is a ceasefire right now, it's it, there's no we're in a bad position. They still control the Strait of Hormuz. The Americans are not going to put boots on the ground. So here's where we are in this sort of 70s style stagflation economy. So we're in dangerous times. I wanted to actually read something I saw on Dropsite earlier this morning. If I can just find the actual point itself. Uh, so here we go. So this is Iran rejects temporary ceasefire, says it has already laid out terms for agreement. Dropsite journalism is free to read and just does tremendous work. If anybody watches Joe Rogan, Breaking Points, if they watch, I'm not a big fan of him, but Kyle Kaczynski or any of those guys over in the States, they do a tremendous job reporting what's really happening in this war because there is just quite simply so much misinformation. Tehran rejects any agreement for a temporary ceasefire to end the war with the US and Israel. And senior Iranian official told Dropsite saying that Iran would only accept an agreement that leads to a permanent end to the fighting. Yes, hey Kai, I'm in Australia. I do sound American sometimes, but I am Australian. I used to watch a lot of American TV, so I sound American, but I am Australian. The official, who was not authorized to make public statements and spoke on a condition of anonymity, said recent proposals for a temporary pause in exchange for resumption of full access into the Strait of Hormuz were detached from the realities on the ground. In the face of new threats by what AFL team? I don't actually. I don't really follow AFL. I follow the A League, and I'm a big fan of the rugby of rugby with the Bulldogs. I'm a massive fan of the Bulldogs because my family grew up in Canterbury back in the '60s, where we just stayed being Bulldogs. So Bulldog supporters. I was a Wanderers supporter for many years. Now with Macarthur FC, I support Macarthur FC as a franchise, but Wanderers and Macarthur FC have always been sort of my area because I'm from the west of Sydney. In the face of new threats by President Donald Trump to escalate the war in Iran, Reuters reported Monday on a Pakistani-led framework to end the fighting that had been shared with both Washington and Tehran. The framework reportedly calls for a temporary ceasefire in exchange for a resumption of traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, with 15 to 20 days given to reach a final settlement that would address Iran's nuclear problems, sanctions relief, and a regional framework for administering the strait. The senior Iranian official who spoke with Dropsite confirmed that Tehran had received the proposal, but reiterated that Iran rejects any agreement based on a temporary ceasefire. It is our assessment that the Trump administration, owing to legal constraints within the United States concerning the prosecution of the war, as well as the need to maintain control over financial markets, requires a short-term pause in the conflict. Once again, short-term pause. So it is very likely that this war is going to continue, and unfortunately, it's going to lead to more economic and civilian destruction, which is absolutely terrible. How does that affect Australia? How does that affect us? Well, it's going to affect us at the pump for starters. It's going to affect our financial markets. We've already raised interest rates, so interest rates are probably going to go up even more now. Money's going to get tighter, and the US is not doing well as well. And because we're tied to the hip with the US, we are going to be affected by that. Fun fact: 50% of all the spending right now in the United States is made by the top 10% in the US. In the past, that was only 20 to 30. Currently, in this economic climate in the US, uh, 50% of all the spending in the US is done by the top 10%. That's not good. That's not good because that means that people in America are not spending. And if they don't spend, well, you could have a 2008 style crash. And if anybody remembers that, that did affect Australia as well. There was a time in 2008 where nobody was buying homes for weeks because they were raising interest rates and it was a big collapse. Hit the like if you remember that, or just let me know what you think. It's a scary time. Our assessment indicates that this new temporary proposal has been drafted solely on the basis of the mediator's perception of the minimum demands of the party for halting the war. Now, this is before the bombing of Lebanon. So after that, the ceasefire was completely thrown out, and we're back to square one. This statement was made prior to the bombing of Lebanon. Tehran does not consider a temporary ceasefire to be a logical course of action, inasmuch as the window for the United States' exit from the conflict has already been delineated. Should the requisite political will exist, the parties are in a position to establish a permanent ceasefire and thereafter concentrate their efforts on diplomacy. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comments. An administration official speaking to CNN on Monday said Trump has yet to sign off on the proposal, and that is one of many ideas. Um, yeah, let me know what you think about this whole war going on in the Middle East. Is it affecting you where you are? Are you in South Korea? Are you in China? Whereabouts are you? Because I know in China they're not affected at all. So, fun fact about how the Iranians have put a toll on the Strait of Hormuz. Countries like China and India and Russia are not being affected by this toll. They're able to go for business as usual. However, countries that are thank you for the rose, Kai. Countries that are allies of the US or part of that system, such as Australia, South Korea, Japan, they're now having to pay a toll. They have found they now have to pay a toll, and there's even reports that Iran in the next year could have made something close to $90 billion by the end of this year. So they are going to benefit tremendously financially. And I made a joke to a friend when I said that Trump is the best leader that Iran has ever had because he has made, to quote, turn a phrase, he's made Iran great again. $90 billion going to them. They're a powerhouse now in the Middle East. It's an absolutely terrible thing if you're an American. Prior to the outbreak of the war, Tehran proposed unprecedented concessions on its nuclear program. Thank you, Kai. During February talks in Geneva, that both UK and Omani participants considered sufficient for making progress towards a final agreement. In a dramatic intervention, Omani Foreign Minister Badir al-Busaidi said in an interview with Face the Nation that a peace talk deal is within our reach and asked for more time to continue the talks. Shortly after that last round of negotiations, however, rather than engaging with the concessions, the US and Israel uh, the US and Israel launched a surprise attack on the Tehran that included the assassination of the country's head of state and many other senior officials. This should not be done. I don't think that any Western nation, any Christian nation, should be doing surprise assassinations. If you disagree, comment and let me know otherwise. But we shouldn't be doing surprise assassinations. This isn't James Bond. And especially in this sort of scenario. Special envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner were later accused by nuclear experts of failing to understand the significance of the technical concessions Iran was proposing in Geneva. Notably, while Iran brought a team of technical experts to the negotiations, Witkoff and Kushner did not. So the senior Iranian official who spoke to Drop Site indicated that the framework for negotiations in February could still serve as a basis for a durable agreement between Tehran and Washington. The latest proposal put forward by Iran prior to the commencement of the unlawful US-Israeli war would fully address the United States' concerns regarding nuclear weapons. Mark Dawson, thanks for being a long-time watcher. Through a posture of maximum flexibility on the part of Iran, accompanied by extensive monitoring by the International Atomic Energy Agency. So ultimately, this war is not going away. If you're hearing the news and they're saying that, oh, there's a ceasefire coming soon and we're okay and don't stress about petrol, you probably should. I'm not saying go and hoard petrol. I'm not saying that all. I am telling you that politically speaking, there needs to be an awakening where people are looking to end the current establishment in the way that they do things. This sort of weak-willed mentality of not having refineries for our energy infrastructure, of doing everything half-assed, of just focusing on finance. It's weakening not just our country but Anglophone countries in general. Just in general, you look at the UK and what they've done. You look at America. You look at Australia as well. Thanks for following, Kai. And you can just see this sort of deindustrialization that is affecting us negatively and economically, it's just not good. Anyway, I am digressing. I'll continue. As Dropside has previously reported, Iran's terms of permanently ending the war include a long-term guarantee that the US and Israel will not attack Iran again, and that any ceasefire also apply to Lebanon, Iraq, and Palestine, reparations for the damages done to Iran during the war, sanctions relief, and that Iran retained control of the Strait of Hormuz. On Easter morning, Trump posted a profanity laced statement on Truth Social, laying out a Tuesday deadline for Iran to capitulate to US demands to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And there is a bit of profanity in this, guys, so just prepare yourself. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like this. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. So don't try and get your news from establishment sources. Try and if you're a normal human being, the average 37-year-old Australian, German, UK, British person, American, you're probably getting it through social media, and you should definitely investigate and look into this stuff yourself because this war is not going away. Throughout the war, as global economic harm continues to mount, Trump has repeatedly claimed in public speeches and posts on Truth Social that Iran is begging for a deal, only to follow with threats to attack oil and infrastructure targets after Iranian deal denials. Trump's recent public statements regarding the Strait of Hormuz reflect a shifting timeline of deadlines and escalating warnings. An initial 48-hour ultimatum on March 21st to reopen the strait was paused. Pardon me. Just a moment, guys. The threat isn't new, and Iran has already made its position clear. If such a crime were to happen, the official said regarding Trump's threats, Iran has repeatedly said it would retaliate to such attacks by targeting US linked infrastructure across the region, potentially including critical energy and water desalination facilities in both Israel and the Gulf states. I mean, by the way, I think it's something like 13 Americans have already died. And when did we become a time where that's just understandable? But it's not understandable. That's 13 souls. That's 13 young men and or women who now will never get to see their families again in a bullshit war. Pardon my French. The Pakistani framework aimed at heading off the Tuesday deadline was reportedly developed in the context of messages exchanged all night long between Pakistani Army Chief Asim Munir, Vice President J.D. Vance, Whitcock, and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. The putative agreement will be known as the Islamabad Accords, providing a temporary end to fighting and arrangements for final status talks in the future between the US and Iran. Now, J.D. Vance, after 20 hours, turned around and said, "There's no ceasefire. We haven't come to an agreement." So there isn't an agreement. If you're hearing anything in the news that says, today, tonight, or current affairs saying, "Oh, this war will be over soon, and everything's fine, and the oil problems are going to go away," that they're not. I think we will have a conclusion to these oil problems, but not in 2026. We're in a very new position in where we're at right now, and maybe this would be an opportunity for us to actually come together as a community and have a new political think about who we want running our country, because even our own prime minister back home, Anthony Albanese, hasn't really stood up and say, "Hey, this is a crazy idea," hasn't strongly said, "I disagree with this war." No, we don't know what he's saying behind closed doors. He might be saying that to Trump, but his current statements have been weak, in my opinion, saying, "Oh, Australians, try and conserve your fuel." Spending $20 million on a fuel ad, it's nonsense. I mean, if that's not, yeah, thanks, Kai. No, all the best. Have a good one. Um, it's it's really not a good thing. Yet the stage nature of the proposal would leave Iran open to future attacks by the US and Israel, both of which have repeatedly used prior negotiations as a means to prepare assets for attack against Iran, even targeting and killing negotiators themselves. So this war is really not going to end in a way we want. I mean, that's 45 minutes, guys. As well as I just want to say how grateful I am for everyone who's been in live, and I'm going to try and do another one tomorrow as well. I'll do a long show, and I'll add it onto the YouTube as well. You can follow my YouTube on TikTok. You can follow my TikTok. You can also follow my YouTube, which is 56s 56xers. I'm very grateful to everyone who joined, and if you'd like to. And if you'd like to know more, please feel free to message me. But once again, just I wanted to say to everyone here that that you're valued, that you're special, and thank you. This is my favorite red shirt. Red is a lucky color. All right. All the best, guys. Thanks very much.